There is a weakness almost everyone has, yet almost no one admits. It doesn't look like fear, it doesn't feel like insecurity, it disguises itself as kindness, as politeness, as being a good person, but Machiavelli would call it what it really is: a vulnerability that gives others power over you, the need to be liked. This need quietly controls your decisions. It shapes how you speak, it limits what you say, it weakens your boundaries, it turns hesitation into habit, and worst of all, it convinces you that this weakness is virtue. Machiavelli despised this trait more than any other, not because he hated kindness, but because he understood human nature. He knew something most people never learn. The moment you need to be liked, you surrender control. How the need to be liked is born. This weakness doesn't come from nowhere. It begins early. You learn that approval equals safety, praise equals acceptance, rejection equals danger. So you adapt, you become agreeable, you soften your opinions, you silence your instincts. You laugh when you shouldn't, you tolerate what you hate, you explain yourself when no explanation is needed. Slowly, you train yourself to survive through approval. Machiavelli would say, this is the moment you stop ruling yourself, because now, your behavior depends on reactions, and whoever controls reactions controls you. Why people who need approval are easy to control. Machiavelli understood power dynamics better than anyone. He knew that people who crave approval can be manipulated without force. All it takes is praise to guide them, silence to punish them, approval to reward them, rejection to control them. If someone knows you need to be liked, they don't need threats. They only need to withdraw warmth, and you will adjust yourself automatically. This is why Machiavelli believed approval seeking is political weakness, not emotional weakness, strategic weakness, because you stop acting in your own interests and start acting in anticipation of how others will feel. The dangerous illusion of being nice here is where most people get confused. They think killing the need to be liked means becoming cruel. Machiavelli never taught cruelty for its own sake, he taught detachment. There is a difference between being kind and being controllable, being respectful and being submissive, being calm and being silent out of fear. The need to be liked forces you to betray yourself in small ways until self-betrayal becomes your personality. And once that happens, people stop respecting you anyway. Machiavelli warned, people respect strength far longer than they appreciate kindness. Why this weakness keeps you small. The need to be liked makes you avoid conflict, delay decisions, over-explain, apologize unnecessarily, accept disrespect, fear, silence, chase validation. It keeps you predictable. And predictability is the opposite of power. Machiavelli believed unpredictability creates leverage. But you cannot be unpredictable if your behavior depends on approval. You become readable, and what is readable is controllable. The first Machiavellian realization here is the truth that begins the transformation. Not everyone needs to like you, and the ones who do not like you often respect you the most. Approval does not create authority. Authority creates approval, and sometimes fear. Machiavelli believed that most dangerous people are not loud or aggressive. They are erected, they do not chase reactions. They do not explain themselves. They do not need agreement to act. They move first, and others adjust. Once you see the need to be liked for what it truly is, something uncomfortable happens. You start noticing how often your emotions move based on other people's reactions. A delayed reply changes your mood. A cold tone makes you anxious. Disagreement feels personal. Silence feels like rejection. Machiavelli would say, this is not emotion, this is dependence. And dependence is the opposite of power. Before anyone can control you externally, they must first control you internally. That is why Machiavelli begins the cure here: emotional detachment, not numbness, not isolation, not cruelty, detachment. Why emotional attachment makes you weak. When you are emotionally attached to approval, you are no longer acting freely, you are reacting. Your mind starts running calculations. What will they think? How will they think? How will this sound? Will this upset them? What if they don't like me anymore? Every decision becomes filtered through fear. Machiavelli believed this is how people lose authority without realizing it, because authority comes from one thing: self-direction, and emotional attachment removes it. If someone can affect your emotions, they can affect your behavior. That is leverage. The Machiavellian rule of detachment. Machiavelli taught that you must separate two things: What people feel, what you do, most people merge them. If someone is unhappy, they change. If someone disapproves, they retreat. If someone withdraws warmth, they panic. The Machiavellian mind refuses this connection. He does not ignore emotions, he simply refuses to be governed by them. This is the shift. You allow others to feel whatever they want without letting it dictate your actions. That is detachment. Why detachment feels uncomfortable at first. The moment you stop chasing approval, your nervous system reacts. You feel tension, unease, guilt, the urge to explain yourself. This discomfort is not danger, it is withdrawal. You are withdrawing from a lifetime of conditioning. Machiavelli understood this well. He knew that approval works like a drug, small dose. Keep you compliant, removal creates anxiety. But he also knew something else. The discomfort fades, the power stays. The power of not reacting. One of Machiavelli's most dangerous teachings is this. Reaction reveals position, silence hides it. When you react emotionally, you show others where they stand with you. They learn what upsets you, what pleases you, what controls you, and they use it. Detachment removes this information. You stop reacting immediately. You stop explaining impulsively. You stop feeling silence. And something strange happens. People begin adjusting to you, because humans are deeply uncomfortable with what they cannot read. Detachment does not mean coldness. This is where most people misunderstand Machiavelli. Detachment does not mean being rude. It does not mean being hostile. It does not mean withdrawing kindness. It means choice. You choose when to engage. You choose when to respond. You choose when to explain. You choose when to walk away. You are no longer emotionally dragged. Machiavelli believed this was the foundation of dominance. You are present but not possessed. The first shift in perception. As detachment grows, people begin treating you differently. Not because you demanded respect, but because you stopped needing approval. Your words carry more weight. Your silence feels intentional. Your presence becomes noticeable. You no longer chase reactions. And when you stop chasing, others start watching. This is not manipulation. This is alignment. You are reclaiming control of your inner world. Approval no longer moves you automatically. You feel emotions, but you do not obey them. You notice reactions, but you do not chase them. You remain calm where the old version of you would have bent. In next, we will go deeper. How Machiavelli teaches you to use silence, delay, and unpredictability as tools, and why the moment you stop explaining yourself, you become far more dangerous. Once you stop needing approval, your behavior begins to change naturally. You speak less, you explain less, you react less, and without realizing it, you step into one of Machiavelli's most powerful principles. Power speaks quietly. Machiavelli believed the loudest person in the room is usually the weakest. Why? Because noise is often a request for validation. Silence, on the other hand, does not ask. It observes. Why silence is unsettling. Human beings crave predictability. They want to know where they stand with you, what you think, how you feel, how you'll react when you speak quickly and explain yourself. You make yourself easy to read. Machiavelli understood that what is easy to read is easy to control. Silence disrupts this. When you pause before responding, people project meaning onto your absence. They assume confidence, calculation, control, authority, not because you said anything, but because you didn't. Silence forces others to do the mental work. The power of delay. Immediate responses reveal urgency. Urgency reveals dependence. Machiavelli believed delay is one of the clearest signals of strength. When you do not rush, your words gain weight, your decisions feel intentional, your presence feels grounded. Delay communicates. I am not pressured. I am not anxious. I am not reactive. This is why Machiavelli advised rulers to wait, not to hesitate, but to dominate timing. The one who controls timing controls the interaction. Why unpredictability creates leverage. Predictable people are comfortable. Comfort invites testing. Testing invites disrespect. Machiavelli warned that when people know exactly how you will respond, they begin shaping their behavior around exploiting it. Unpredictability breaks this pattern. Not chaos, but selective unpredictability. You are consistent in values, but flexible in responses. Sometimes you respond quickly. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you engage. Sometimes you walk away. This forces others to adapt, and adaptation creates respect. Stopping the habit of over-explaining. One of the clearest signs of approval seeking is over-explaining. You justify your decisions. You soften your boundaries. You apologize for acting in your own interest. Machiavelli would say, "He who explains himself places himself on trial." You do not owe everyone clarity. You owe yourself alignment. The moment you stop explaining, people assume you have reasons, even if they don't know them. Mystery fills the gap. Why mystery is misunderstood. People confuse mystery with manipulation. Machiavelli understood it differently. Mystery is simply the absence of unnecessary information. You are not hiding, you are withholding. Because what you reveal becomes usable, silence protects your position. This is why Machiavelli believed a powerful person should always be slightly unreadable, not cold, not distant, just unknown enough. The psychological shift you'll notice as silence, delay, and unpredictability become natural. You'll notice changes. People hesitate before challenging you. Conversations become more respectful. Others wait for your response. Your words are remembered. Your absence is felt. You no longer push to be noticed. You are noticed because you do not push. This is a fundamental shift in power. Once you master silence and detachment, you reach a dangerous realization. Not everyone deserves the same version of you. Most people give emotional access freely. They are warm with everyone, open with everyone, available to everyone. Machiavelli believed this was a strategic mistake, because what is freely given is rarely valued, and what is always available is never respected. Why constant warmth weakens you? Warmth feels good. It creates connection, it builds comfort. But Machiavelli understood a hard truth. Comfort erodes authority. When people know they will always receive your attention, your validation, your emotional energy, they stop protecting the relationship. They test boundaries. They grow careless. They assume forgiveness. They assume access. Warmth without limits teaches others that you can be taken for granted. The Machiavellian shift. Selective warmth. Machiavelli did not teach coldness. He taught control. You are warm, but only when it serves your position. You are open, but only with those who've earned proximity. You are generous, but never desperate. This creates a psychological imbalance. People begin to wonder, why does he pull back? Why isn't he always available? Why does his attention feel earned? And when attention feels earned, it becomes valuable. Why distance increases value? Distance triggers reflection. When you step back emotionally, others replay interactions. They reconsider behavior. They adjust tone. They increase effort. Machiavelli understood people value what they might lose, not what they already own. Distance creates the possibility of loss, and loss sharpens attention. This is not manipulation. It is human psychology. Controlling emotional access. Emotional access is the currency of influence. Who you listen to, who you respond to, who gets your energy, who gets your vulnerability. Most people spend this currency recklessly. Machiavelli taught rulers to guard it fiercely. You do not reward disrespect with attention. You do not reward indifference with warmth. You do not reward testing with reassurance. You reward alignment. This retrains how people interact with you. Why pulling back feels risky. The moment you stop overgiving, fear appears. What if they leave? What if they think I've changed? What if I lose them? Machiavelli would say, if distance makes them leave, they were only there for access, not respect. True respect survives boundaries. False connection collapses without them. This is the filter. Warmth is a weapon, not a habit. When warmth is rare, it becomes meaningful. A smile from you feels intentional. A compliment feels earned. Attention feels significant. Machiavelli understood that warmth should be deliberate, not automatic. You decide when to open the door. This shifts the power dynamic. Others begin seeking alignment instead of taking you for granted. The behavioral changes you'll notice once you control warmth and distance. People become more careful with your disrespect. Decreases effort, increases conversations, deepen. Boundaries are respected. You are no longer chased, you are approached. Because access to you now has value. Your attention is power. Your warmth is currency. Your distance is leverage. When you stop giving all three freely, you stop being controlled by the need to be liked. Next in video, we will expose the next layer, how Machiavelli teaches you to handle disrespect and testing without anger, without explanation, and why calm non-reaction is the most dangerous response of all. Once you stop chasing approval, people begin to test you. This is inevitable. Not because you did something wrong, but because power always invites examination. Machiavelli understood this clearly. Disrespect is not always an insult. It is often a probe, a test to see where your boundaries are, a test to see if the old, agreeable version of you still exists, a test to see if pressure can still move you. How you respond in these moments decides everything. Why anger is the weak response. Most people react emotionally to disrespect. They argue, they explain, and they defend themselves. They raise their voice. They try to win. Machiavelli believed this was exactly what the other person wanted, because anger reveals insecurity, emotional attachment, loss of control, a desire to be validated. The moment you react emotionally, you give the other person information, and information is leverage. The Machiavellian response: calm non-reaction. Machiavelli taught that the most powerful response to disrespect is not aggression. It is calm non-reaction, silence, a pause, a neutral expression, a refusal to engage emotionally. This response does something unsettling. It denies the test. The other person expected friction. They expected resistance. They expected reaction. Instead, they receive nothing. And nothing is deeply uncomfortable. Why non-reaction feels unnatural? Your instincts will resist this. Your ego will demand defense. Your pride will want to respond. Your old habits will urge explanation. But Machiavelli would say the need to correct others is often the need to protect your image. And protecting your image is still approval-seeking. True power does not rush to be understood. When to speak and when not to. Non-reaction does not mean passivity. It means timing. Machiavelli believed responses should be delayed, measured, strategic, minimal. You speak only when your words will end the situation, not prolong it. A single calm sentence is more powerful than 10 emotional ones. Sometimes the strongest message is simply disengagement. The difference between strength and fragility. Fragile people need to correct disrespect immediately. Strong people allow it to reveal itself. Machiavelli understood that those who test you often expose themselves. They reveal insecurity. They reveal envy. They reveal their need for dominance. When you do not react, their behavior becomes obvious to everyone. Silence lets others see the imbalance. Handling repeated disrespect. If disrespect continues, the response shifts. Not through anger, through withdrawal of access. Less attention, less engagement, less warmth. Machiavelli believed removal is more effective than confrontation. You do not punish loudly. You simply remove privilege. And when access disappears, people adjust quickly. Why this makes you dangerous? Most people rely on emotional chaos to assert control. They provoke reactions, they escalate, they dominate through noise. When you remain calm, they lose their advantage. They cannot read you. They cannot provoke you. They cannot control the frame. Machiavelli believed the man who cannot be shaken cannot be ruled. The shift others will notice once you master this. Disrespect decreases. People choose words more carefully. Testing becomes rare. Authority becomes assumed. Not because you demanded respect, but because you demonstrated self-control. And self-control signals dominance more clearly than aggression ever could. Power is not shown by how loudly you respond, but by how little you need to. How Machiavelli teaches you to detach from reputation, why trying to be understood makes you weak, and how indifference to opinions creates true freedom. At a certain stage of transformation, you discover a new problem. You no longer chase approval. You no longer explain yourself. You no longer react emotionally. And yet people still talk. They speculate. They label. They misunderstand. They project motives onto you. This is where most people fail. They feel the urge to correct the story. Machiavelli warned strongly against this impulse. Because the need to control your reputation is simply approval seeking in a more sophisticated form. Why reputation becomes a trap. Reputation feels important because it seems permanent. People believe, if they misunderstand me, I'll lose opportunities. If they judge me, I'll lose influence. If I don't explain, I'll look weak. Machiavelli understood the illusion here. Your reputation is not built by your explanations, it is built by your consistency. And consistency requires indifference to gossip. He believed that people who rush to defend their image reveal insecurity. And insecurity invites exploitation. The power of being misunderstood. Machiavelli observed something unsettling. The most powerful individuals are almost always misunderstood. Why? Because clarity invites consensus. Consensus invites predictability. Predictability invites control. When people fully understand you, They believe they know your limits. Misunderstanding keeps your position fluid. It creates ambiguity. Ambiguity creates caution. Caution creates respect. This is why Machiavelli preferred mystery over explanation. Why explaining yourself weakens you. When you explain, you lower yourself to the court of opinion. You ask to be judged. You ask to be approved. You ask to be accepted. Machiavelli believed power does not request validation. He wrote, in essence, "Those who explain too much confess weakness without speaking it." Your actions should speak louder than any clarification. Explanations fade. Behavior remains. Letting others be wrong about you, this is one of the hardest lessons. Allowing people to misunderstand you feels like surrender. But Machiavelli taught the opposite. Letting others be wrong about you protects your energy and your position. Not everyone deserves access to your truth. Not everyone is capable of interpreting it correctly. Trying to correct every perception is exhausting and unnecessary. Those who matter will observe long enough to understand. Those who don't, never would anyway. The reputation paradox. Machiavelli identified a paradox. The more you try to control your reputation, the weaker it becomes. The less you care about opinions, the stronger your presence grows. Why? Because detachment signals internal authority. People trust those who are not shaped by the crowd. They sense independence, they sense self-direction, they sense strength. What actually protects your reputation? Machiavelli believed reputation is protected by three things only: consistency, restraint. Results, not words, not explanations, not defenses. If your actions align over time, the truth serves on its own. If they don't, no amount of explanation will save you. The emotional shift. Once you detach from reputation, criticism loses its sting, praise loses its pull, gossip loses its urgency, opinions lose their weight. You move freely. Not reckless, but unburdened. This is true freedom. How Machiavelli teaches you to replace approval with authority. Why leadership is taken, not given, and how becoming indifferent to being liked makes people follow you naturally. Once you detach from approval, master silence, control warmth, handle disrespect, and stop defending your reputation, something unexpected happens. People begin to follow you, not because you asked them to, not because you persuaded them, not because you tried to lead, but because authority has quietly replaced approval. Machiavelli believed this was the natural outcome of someone who no longer needs to be liked. The difference between approval and authority: approval is granted by others. Authority is assumed by you. When you seek approval, you wait for permission. When you operate from authority, you move, and others decide whether to align or fall behind. Machiavelli understood, people do not follow those who need validation, they follow those who appear self-directed. Authority is not announced, it is felt. Why authority feels threatening at first. Stepping into authority feels uncomfortable, because it removes safety nets. No reassurance, no applause, no emotional cushioning. You act without knowing how people will react. This is why most people never develop authority. They prefer certainty over strength. Machiavelli believed leadership requires the courage to be disliked, because decisions that matter often disturb comfort. Authority comes from decisiveness. Indecision weakens perception. Hesitation invites challenge. Machiavelli taught that decisiveness signals confidence even when the decision is imperfect. People forgive mistakes faster than they forgive hesitation. Why? Because hesitation suggests fear. Decisiveness suggests ownership, and ownership attracts followers. Why people test authority? Once people sense authority, they test it. Not out of malice, but to understand its limits. This is why boundaries matter. When tested, you do not overreact, you do not explain, you do not negotiate, you do not negotiate your core position, you hold your ground calmly. And when you do, the testing stops. Authority does not need constant presence, one of Machiavelli's most subtle insights. True authority is felt even in absence. If people behave differently when you're not around, you don't have authority, you have supervision. Authority shapes behavior even when you are silent or absent. This is built through consistency. Why authority makes you more respected than liked. Being liked feels good. Being respected lasts longer. Machiavelli understood. People may smile at those they like, but they follow those they respect. Respect is rooted in consistency. Restraint, boundaries, decisiveness, emotional control. Once respect is established, liking becomes optional. The shift in group dynamics as authority replaces approval. People seek your input conversations, pause when you speak, others mirror your tone, your absence is noticed. Your presence stabilizes the group, you become a reference point, not by force but by posture. Why this makes you dangerous: a person who no longer needs approval cannot be manipulated with praise or rejection. They cannot be rushed emotionally. They cannot be cornered socially. They cannot be controlled psychologically. Machiavelli believes this independence authority is not given. It emerges when approval no longer controls you. How killing your need to be liked turns you into someone who cannot be used, ignored, or dismissed, and why this is the most dangerous position of all. At the end of this transformation, something irreversible happens. You stop asking for permission emotionally, socially, psychologically. You no longer scan faces for approval. You no longer soften truth to protect comfort. You no longer shape yourself to fit expectations. And this is where Machiavelli's philosophy reaches its most dangerous point. You become free, not reckless, not cruel, not detached from humanity, but immune to control. Why the need to be liked was your last chain. Machiavelli understood that most people are not controlled by force. They are controlled by approval. Approval determines what they say. Approval determines what they tolerate. Approval determines how far they go and where they stop. Once you kill the need to be liked, there is nothing left to threaten you with. No praise can seduce you. No rejection can move you. No silence can punish you. This is why Machiavelli believed the most dangerous person is the one who does not need emotional permission to act. You stop being useful to manipulators. Manipulation depends on leverage. Fear of rejection, fear of isolation, fear of judgment, fear of being misunderstood. When these fears disappear, manipulators lose interest. They cannot steer you with warmth. They cannot pressure you with disapproval. They cannot rush you with urgency. You become expensive to control, and expensive targets are avoided. Why people treat you differently now: you may notice something subtle. People choose words more carefully around you. They hesitate before testing you. They respect your time. They sense limits without being told. This isn't because you became aggressive. It's because your inner posture changed. You are no longer asking, "Is this okay?" You are deciding, "This is what I'm doing." And humans instinctively recognize this shift. The silence that now follows you, there is a silence that follows people within our authority, not emptiness, presence. When you speak, people listen. When you pause, people wait. When you withdraw, people feel it. Machiavelli believed this was the final stage of power, influence without effort. You no longer chase attention. Your attention is what others seek. Why this does not make you lonely: many fear that killing the need to be liked will leave them isolated. The opposite happens. You lose shallow connections. Yes, but you gain something far more rare: respect-based relationships. People who stay now are not there for access, validation, or convenience. They are there because they choose alignment. This is fewer people but stronger bonds. And Machiavelli would argue that quality of loyalty always outweighs quantity of approval. The final Machiavellian identity shift: you no longer define yourself by reaction. You define yourself by direction. You move toward goals without explaining them. You enforce boundaries without defending them. You let actions speak without narrating them. You become internally governed, and internal governance is the foundation of all external power. What dangerous actually means: Machiavelli never meant violence. He meant unusable. A dangerous person is not emotionally predictable, not approval dependent, not easily pressured, not reactive, not controllable. They cannot be rushed into mistakes. They cannot be flattered into submission. They cannot be shamed into silence. They act from alignment, not fear. The final truth: Machiavelli's lesson is not about becoming feared. It is about becoming free enough that fear no longer rules you. Because the moment you stop needing to be liked, you stop being owned, you stop being managed, you stop being shaped. You become self-directed, and a self-directed person is the most dangerous force in any room.